Hey guys, in this video I wanted to take a few minutes to show you how I combined some of my favorite Airwindows plugins into one user interface with meters using MUX or MUX by Mutools. First, I want to demonstrate these plugins for you. I'm using Reaper as my DAW, and here's just a simple drum loop. And I'll play that for you. Now in this, in my effects chain, I have some Airwindows plugins, and I'll just engage those as I play this so you can hear what they're doing. And what I've got in here is bus colors, which is a console emulation. I've got it set to Lush. You have different console models through here. Of course, you can set your input and output. There are no user interfaces for Airwindows stuff, so they in this case it's just using Reaper's stock GUI for that. I also have Airwindows EQ, which is a nice 3-band kind of a broad brush stroke EQ, and the Logical 4, which is a kind of like an SSL bus compressor emulation, give or take. So I'll play that for you and show you kind of what each one is doing to the sound. We'll start off engaging bus colors. So that'll give you some idea of what they're doing. But obviously the purpose of this video is to show you how I combine those. So let's get started with that. Here on another track, I have set up a MUX modular effect VST, and this is going to allow me to combine those three plugins. If you're not familiar with MUX, highly recommend you check that out. I'll leave you some links down below as to how to get to them. So first thing I want to do is we'll just start with an empty MUX. Then we'll open up the modular area, and I'm going to go through this pretty quickly just so I can demonstrate how it's done. I have some future videos planned as I go through more of these VSTs that I've been able to combine, which have become really useful. Anyway, so we're going to add a module. In this case, we'll go to the modules, and I want to add an audio input and add another module and an audio output. And that sets up my signal flow. Basically, audio will come into the effect, go through whatever I put in between here, and then of course it'll audio out. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to add some meters to this whole situation, and MUX allows me to do that. Audio level meter. Now I'm going to click on Control, and I'm just going to reproduce this a few times because I know I'm going to need it. Because I want to put a meter in between each one of these plugins so I can see what's happening. So here I want to add bus colors, for example. So we'll click on the Add Module. under the VST effects. You see I have bus colors already loaded up in my plugin folder, so we'll add that. Then I also want to add the EQ module. Same procedure, find the EQ. Then I want to add the logical 4, which is the compressor. And I want to put one of these meters in between each one of these stages. And you'll see how that plays in here in just a minute. Now I just want to connect these. Kind of offset them, makes it easier for me to see a little bit, I guess. Make sure they're connected. Now I'm just connecting these red nodes, and you can see as you hover over it, it says audio input and then of course audio output. So I'm connecting the audio input to the entire VST, into the meter, into bus colors, then into another meter, then out of that meter into the EQ, out of the EQ into the meter, out of the meter into the compressor, out of the compressor into another meter, and out of that meter all the way out. So that basically gives me the same chain that I had before. So let's check that out. I'm just going to move this. Well, I'll copy it. There we go. And then I can solo each one of these. You see, we have the same thing going on. Now, at this point, with the modules inserted, I could go in and of course click on each one and get to the parameters, but that isn't any more efficient, actually less efficient than what I had before. But MUX allows you to combine all these things into one user interface, which is awesome. And we'll do that here by clicking on the edit of this particular MUX. So while I have that open, I'll also open this. So this is my modular area, and this is going to be my front panel user interface. Probably going to need to grow this a little bit. And here I'm just increasing the width and the height of my user area. There we go for now. Now this really is as simple, almost as simple as drag and drop. The first thing we'll do is add the meters, which are not quite drag and drop. So here we'll click Add a Component. And here we're going to click on the audio level meter. You can see our mouse arrow now turns to a hand. We can take that hand over and click on the level meter that we want to show up on our user interface. So I'm going to click on the first one, and then it shows up. Now I'm going to resize that, so I want it a little bit smaller and more narrow so it doesn't take up quite so much space. And right now, I'm kind of do this arbitrarily, but just to kind of show you video-wise how this is put together. So the next thing we'll do is go to our first VST we want to input, which is bus colors, and it has four parameters, and this really is simply drag and drop over onto here. So we'll have our color, our input, our dry, put the dry and wet down here. We'll do the output here. So we'll have the input, output, and then the dry and wet. And we'll right click here. Now if you position your mouse here when you right click, whatever you insert will show up at that point, which is why I'm positioning it here. So I'll right click, add a component, select audio level meter. This time I want the second level meter because it's coming after bus colors. We'll do that. Stretch it down. And then we'll just repeat that process. We'll click on the EQ. Now Airwindows has a neat little EQ here. What they give you are a treble gain and a treble frequency, a bass gain and a bass frequency. And then the mid is just a gain, and it increases or decreases the frequencies in between the bass EQ and the treble EQ, if that makes any sense. It's not really logically set up the way it shows up on the interface, so I'm going to try to change the order around a little bit here. I like my filters first, so I'm going to put these together. And since I have 8 of these, and I'm kind of going along in the rows of 4 or columns of 4 each, I'm going to do these double rowed. So I have a high pass and a low pass. And then I'll set the treble gain on the right, and we'll set the treble frequency on the left. We'll do then we'll bring in the mid. And then we'll do the bass frequency. Again, this allows you to quickly see when I set that treble frequency to, in order to actually move these, I have to turn the editing button off. So this way we can easily see, let's say I set my treble frequency at 4K and my bass at in the mid 5s, then this mid is operating in between. For me, that's easier to see what's going on. And then of course, if I want to get to my treble gain, it's here. I'll set the bass gain right next to it. I have to turn the editor back on again so that I can drag that in. And then I'll set my output gain right next to my mid. It kind of puts the output in a strange spot, but at least logically all of this makes more sense to me. So I can live with that output being kind of stuck there in the middle. Again, we want another meter. At this point, we're kind of seeing that it's only going to be this tall. So I can actually reduce these. There we go. Now extend this out a little bit. I will also increase the width here by clicking on the Edit Properties and just increasing that a bit, because I've got some more stuff I want to add in here. So again, we've got our meter coming in after our EQ, so the next thing we want to do is put in the compressor. Right click here, add component. No, I don't even need to do that, sorry. Click on Logical, open that up. You see this time I have five parameters to work with, so I've set myself up for 4, so I'm going to work these 5 in here. Of course, typical controls, we want a threshold, our ratio, and a speed. So because I have 5, I'm just going to kind of play around with this a little bit. You can obviously organize this any way you want. Need to make it a little bit wider. So I have my threshold, my ratio, my speed. Now I'll add my makeup gain and my dry wet. Several different ways you could rearrange this. You could increase the spacing here and then tighten these up so that these 5 would line up into 4. Many different ways to do that. But for demonstration, I'll show you. I'll just carry on with where I'm going. So again, now we want to add the component. Audio level meter. Click on that final audio level meter. I can close this. Now right click here and click on optimize size, and it'll close that in for me, right and left. So now I have, let me turn it on, it might help. And that is awesome because now I've got meters in between. Again, some of my favorite plugins, now they're all in one place. It's an easy to use interface. Everything's there. I can edit, the colors if I want, as far as, backgrounds and whatnot here. I'll just click on some things and click OK. And you can see how that, gives you an interface. I've made this once before for myself. The layout turned out a little bit differently. Let's see if I can show you what that looks like. I'll set that up on a different track. Yeah, that's how I kind of squeezed it in there, getting 5. You can see how I spread that out, spread these out a little bit so I could push 5 into here. So it's a little bit, more compressed layout as far as saving you some real estate. But same idea. And then the meters, actually provide a function that Airwindows doesn't have. To help you get your gain staging straightened out between your 3 plugins. So there's how you would combine 3 Airwindows plugins into one easy to use user interface. Pretty quick. You can do that in 5 or 10 minutes. Anyway, I hope that's shown you some things. I stumbled across it. Obviously this is what this program is really designed to do amongst a million other things, but for me it was a revelation, so I thought I'd share with you guys. Anyway, hopefully that helped in some way, and we'll see you next time.